Hi, this is Danny. Welcome to lesson 6 on how to play the saxophone for beginners. Hang on. What's up, man?
Sorry.
The content of today's lesson is tonguing. Tonguing the reed and the mouthpiece of the saxophone. Now, the best way for me to describe to you how it works is to liken it to a plectrum on a guitar. Guitarists use a plectrum to start the note, they can strum chords with it, and they can add rhythm with it. It's used pretty much for everything on guitar, barring fingerstyle stuff. The tongue works in the same way. We use it to add rhythm, and we use it to start notes. It can stop notes as well, hence the reason that it can be used for rhythmical purposes. When I was younger, I had a brilliant clarinet teacher who I loved. She was very much Mary Poppins-esque type lady. I won't tell you her name, but yeah, she was pretty fantastic. And she used to talk about using your tongue on the clarinet, and it used to wind her up something chronic, because she used to say that it's apparently easier to do than blinking your eye. Now, the reason I reference that is, if you are absolutely walloping your tongue on this reed, then it's a good sign you're doing it incorrectly. So what I'm going to do before we start talking about how to do it is give you a little bit of an example of how it's used and what it can sound like. In this little bit that I'm about to play now, I am constantly blowing, all right? So there's no stopping at all in my breath going into the saxophone, but the tongue is going to come in the way of the reed to add the rhythm. And what's happening is the tongue touches the reed and the air can't get in. What you are aiming for is just behind the tip of your tongue, ever so slightly behind the tip, so not right on the end. That's going to come into contact with the reed and then come away again. All right, and you get like a tap, 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 tap. Now, that noise that I'm making there with my tongue is actually similar to the what's the word? I suppose the action, the movement that your tongue is going to make, tap, tap, tap. And whenever I play something and I'm adding that rhythm, I'm kind of articulating that on my tongue. So if I'm going ta 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 ta, then that will come out on the saxophone. Now, the most common mistake that people make with this when they're trying to start out with tonguing the reed is they do it in their throat, and they close the throat and artificially make the sound of like that rhythmical kind of interruptions, if you like, with the throat. And you may have to ask somebody to listen to you playing. And if they get close enough, they'll hear you going. And that throat is doing the job of what the tongue should be doing, okay? And people use it as a little bit of a cheat way to getting the same effect. What you can do to practice this is start off by having your tongue on the reed. When you start to blow, then take your tongue off and try and continue blowing. This will allow you to get used to the idea of what it feels like when the note starts when you take your tongue away. Second of all, once you've practiced that and kind of got used to this idea, what you need to do... Hi mate, you alright?
Can you take these legs off?
You want me to take Lego Darth Vader's legs off. So the second exercise to try is to blow a long note and with your tongue interrupt the note. Pick a beat, a kind of solid beat, and just give it ta, pam, pam. And what you're doing is you'll find that you're constantly blowing and your tongue adds that element of rhythm. Now, this is quite an important thing to practice because all of your rhythmical playing will come from the tongue when you get going in the future with it. So you need to, as much as you need to pick up the speed on your fingers, I'm not doing that, you also need to pick up the speed with your tongue, how fast you can move your tongue backwards and forwards. The next section of this video is going to be a play along, where I will play for one bar and you play the exact same thing in the following bar. I'm going to give you an example in a second. But what I wanted to say is, before you try it, make sure that you kind of have some understanding and kind of an initial appreciation of using your tongue, because some of the things that I'm going to play require you to use your tongue. They've got an element of rhythm in, and you don't want to be doing this to try and kind of play the same thing. So before you try this, make sure you get your tonguing down.